Thank you. Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to our final session in the Reimagine Your Future series. So the first session was about creating a vision board. The second session was about using a business model canvas to create a business plan or a project plan. And this session is about building your own personal brand. How do you start talking about yourself? How do you build a personal narrative to convince or highlight an achievement, or so on and so forth. So without any delay, we are going to launch into the session. We'll start off by introducing ourselves as the workshop lead. So Raheel and I will be leading this workshop. So a little brief information about me. My name is Bushra, and I am the head of the education team at the PYF. I was born and raised in the UAE. And then I went to college in the US and studied economics and Chinese. However, I went to this place called a liberal arts college. This is a special kind of college that I've mostly only seen in the US, although that's spreading across the world now. And what a liberal arts college does is it gives you the opportunity to study various disciplines. So I ended up taking classes in theater, in anthropology, in history. And a lot of that has shaped the kind of stuff I do today, which is writing and marketing, copywriting, market research, so on and so forth. And I am very, very passionate about education and about making sure that students like me, especially with my background, have access to the kinds of opportunities I did, because it has transformed my life. All right, over to you, Raheel.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Raheel. I don't have such a diverse and dynamic introduction like Bushra. I've just graduated from high school, and I'm hopefully going to be a student here in Dubai. I was also born and raised in Sharjah, not Dubai, but that counts as the UAE as well. And I am a volunteer here at PYF, and I just really have this passion of helping Pakistanis all around the world to get more access to resources and things that I feel I would have wanted in my school and when I was in high school, and hopefully I am able to give this to people right about now. That's all.
Thank you, Raheel. Although I'm currently in Sharjah. So I grew up in Dubai in Deira, but I'm currently living in Sharjah. So Sharjah is very much a part of the UAE, and I love where I live. So it's totally valid. Okay, let's move on to our moderator for the day, Zahid. Kindly introduce yourself and share the moderation guidelines with us.
Thank you, Bushra. Thank you, Rohil. Again, my name is Zahid. I grew up in UAE as well, down the road in Abu Dhabi, and moved to Dubai 3 years back. I work as a cybersecurity professional in Dubai, and I love traveling. So I'm more happy to talk about traveling, more happy to talk about life, mental health, and whatever the last bit is left, I'm happy to talk about cybersecurity as well. I love moderating or being part of these workshops. One, because of the level of engagement we see from students, and two, we feel blessed to be part of those engagements, and happy to be here talking about the moderation guidelines. You people know it well. These are very simple, very straightforward. I mean, number one, treat everyone in the room as you like to be treated. Consider it a safe space. Talk about things that you feel will make or will keep everyone in the room comfortable. Always participate. If there is any opportunity to engage with the group, with the workshop leads, please do so. Either type in the chat room, raise your hand using the raise hand feature on Zoom. If we were in a pre-COVID situation and we were in a room in person, I would say that please keep your phones on silent and don't get distracted. That remains as is. Please keep your phones aside, don't get distracted from your phone. If you want to focus and get most out of this workshop, try to be in a safe space or place where you don't have much distraction and background noises around you. And last, but that was very good timing. So I appreciate that timing skills. So please, enjoy the workshop and just be mindful of everyone in the room and treat everyone the way you want to be treated. And please do engage and stay focused. Thank you, Bushra.
Thank you, Zahid. That was wonderful. I will say one of the best parts of this workshop, there are many amazing things about doing this, but definitely the students are a huge part of it, but also just the volunteer team. Like, I wish the students would realize how fortunate they are to have access to such mentors who are doing incredible things. Like Zahid has a very grueling day job and in a very good position. And similarly, different mentors, different things. And here they are, nonetheless, to spend time with our youth, with our students, because that's something we are passionate about. All right, so off to the next actual workshop. Okay, before that, icebreaker. So very simple, as it says on this slide, we want to get started thinking about stories that we like and storytellers that we like and famous people, because famous people are often people whose stories we know. So let's start this session by looking at that. Junaid, you are very much a participant of this workshop, so you will also be participating in all our exercises.
I
Right.
Captain.
You are my student today. So
Done.
all right. So I'd love it if people can raise their hands and actually unmute and speak. I'm going to give you a minute to come up with a response. But we'll get it started. Maybe Rohil, you can get us started. Do you have a response to this?
Yes, okay, I kind of do. I didn't think about it, but I think I have one right on the top of my head. So if there's a famous person I could meet, who would it be and why? Okay, so if I could meet someone right now, I think it would be Elon Musk. Okay, everybody knows who Elon Musk is. I'm sure like more than 90% of the participants over here know who Elon Musk is. So he was one of the first people who I heard that actually focused and took his mind towards the idea that not only an educational degree or something from that you can get from a college or university is the only thing that can land you a corporate job or even make you successful. He was one of the first people I myself heard that had this point of view and perspective and actually focused on it by implementing this rule in his company Tesla. So basically, if you go for an employment at Tesla, they really do not care if you have a bachelor's degree in car mechanics or programming or whatever you're going for. If you know the job and can get it done, and if you have just a certification that you're certified to do this, that's the basic requirement. He doesn't ask for anything else. So which is what I think that we should explain to most of our parents now, because most of the parents I see, they're very reluctant on this idea and this form of education. So I think I would like to meet him. And what questions would you ask them about their life? I think people already dug up his life so much that we know everything there is to know about him. But I think I would really focus on asking about his routine and the 5 to 10 tips that he did to get where he is right now. That's all.
That's a pretty good answer. Junaid, do you want to go next?
Yes, teacher. So who would it be? It's Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V. He's an American entrepreneur. I'd say why? Because I'd say he's one of the main reasons I am what I am today. So I started watching his videos back in like grade 10, and how he would say that you got to believe in yourself, and you can't let others' judgment define your pathway, define you. And I've been consuming a lot of his content till today. And one question that I would ask him about life, or I would ask about entrepreneurship though, I would ask him what's that one skill that's very essential on this journey that makes you a good entrepreneur, and how do you make good decisions. So yeah, that's about it.
Thanks. That's a really good response. I accidentally asked you to unmute. Please ignore me. And who wants to go next? I know for a fact that most of the people we have here are very articulate, our students. Huda, what about you?
As of right now, I would like to meet this mysterious author who is known by the name Francesco Colonna.
Hmm?
Okay, because I was reading his book, and I just want to know what the thought process was that went into that book, because it is really intriguing to me right now.
What is the book
So
called?
yeah, it's called Hypnerotomachia Polyphily. Okay, it's kind of Latin and Greek mix, but the English translation is The Strife of Love in a Dream.
Wow. That sounds like a
Yeah.
complicated book, but definitely would make for a very good conversation, especially with
Yeah.
there. That's a good answer. Wow, that's a good answer to start off with. What about Asma? What about you?
I think my answer would be same as Rahil's, that I really want to meet Elon Musk, because in a way he inspires me that he, like, out of like everyone else, he directly approaches the problem, and like he's more focused on problem solving than like teaching like everyone like you have to like study from grade 1 to grade 12 and it's like compulsory mandatory in order to be smart and intelligent. So instead he's like already has built a school for his own kids, which is like it's like levels, so it's directly focuses on problem solving and learning new skills, and you know, more towards innovation and sustainability, etc. And what questions would I ask them about their life would be how how did you change, like just more about their mindset and how they came towards that goal, and yeah, just few more ideas. That's it.
Interesting. Liking these responses. Abdul Hadi, you want to go next? Hadi, are you there? Can you unmute or can you type in the chat box? Okay, whenever you're ready, do raise your hand. So we need to make sure there are people here who can respond. Arich, what about you? My favorite part of Zoom workshops. You were there?
Sorry, I
There
thought
you
I was
are.
muted.
No problem. Do tell us, what are your
Okay, so I really look up to Muhammad Ali, the American professional boxer. I really looked up to him. I even read a book about him recently, about his life and everything he achieved. And if I could ask him any question, it would be about it would probably be about how he got so successful. About his success, yeah.
Okay, how did he become so successful? Yeah, that's why Muhammad Ali though. Why a boxer? What specifically about that kind of personality?
I'm not so sure. I just read about him recently, but I really got inspired. He stood up for what he believed in, and yeah.
Okay, that's pretty solid response. Okay, who's next? Fatma Sahib, are you ready? Or you can put it in the chat box if you cannot unmute. Yes, no. Okay, who's left? Mariam, are you talking about Jordan Peterson or you're talking about Muhammad Ali? Jordan, yes. Jordan is a controversial figure. I haven't read up on him much, but I've heard arguments on both sides for what he says. Actually, you know, maybe at the end of this workshop, we could have a discussion about how we should view famous people and their contributions. Who's left? So Abdul Hadi and Fatma, whenever you're ready, please do answer the prompt in the chat box. And if we skipped on anyone else, ooh, Roald Dahl. Asking how it was such interesting books. I agree. Roald Dahl is a very interesting writer. I'm so glad that we have his stuff to enjoy. Abdul Hadi said, same Jordan. Which particular book or video by Jordan, if you guys want to share, that would be interesting for me to start my Jordan Peterson journey. Robert Kiyosaki.
I was gonna say I was thinking between Elon Musk and Robert Kiyosaki. I'll be very honest, but very good man.
Good man. To be honest, I am very critical of most of these.
Oh my. Inspiring man. Okay, I leave good, inspiring man. Very inspiring man.
I think part of the reason, okay, we'll talk about it in the end. First, let's get through the workshop. Okay, so let's talk about the power of personal narrative. So when we were marketing this workshop, we were saying that it's about storytelling. It's about learning to tell your own story, whether it's for an interview or a job application or a college essay or something like that. So why exactly do personal stories matter here? So just to kind of highlight how important narrative is, I'm going to go towards a slightly controversial side of things, of world events, to help us start thinking a bit more about how narratives control the world. By the word narrative, what do I mean by the word narrative? Can anyone tell me, raise their hand or put it in? What do I mean by the word narrative? Anyone? Narrative. Asma, yes?
Like different side of the stories.
Yes, a narrative is basically a story. So what is but narrative is actually to like a story that is related. It is actually expressed. So I'm going to go towards the Afghanistan conflict at the moment, which is pretty, out there in the press right now, and kind of get us thinking. It's a very polarizing issue. Some people are for the fact that it's good that the US left and the Taliban is, that the Afghani people in some way are being represented in government. And on the other hand, some people have been terrified. And so you see very polarizing messages on social media. And what I want us to think about is, on the one hand, we have, I forgot this quote, but we'll come back to this quote. On the one hand, we have places like the CNN, right? Like US media corporations that are pretty big and powerful. On the one hand, they're controlling the narrative, right? They are telling us what's happening in Afghanistan. Even if you do not watch CNN has a trickle-down effect of, say, even our local papers. All the international news agencies, they do have a way of trickling down the narrative from these kinds of sources into our mainstream absorption. On the other hand, we also now have organizations and political groups like the Taliban using the media to tell people, yes, Abdul Hadi, I love that question. We're coming to it. So we have organizations like Taliban telling now they want to do interviews. They're actually open to that, and they want to put up videos, and they want to communicate because they want some part of that story. Like they want to tell some part of that story. And who tells that story eventually affects to a great extent, not only how they're viewed, but are they sanctioned? Depending on how a certain country or government might be feeling, what kind of trade relations they have with them, so on and so forth. So who controls a narrative about this situation? That's half the war, right? That is half the war. It's a huge part of the war. But then the question does come down to the fact that there are 38 million Afghanis, right? There are 38 million Afghanis. Can either the world imperial powers like the US or organizations and dominant groups like Taliban, which have certain influence, can they accurately represent what is actually happening in Afghanistan? And if a lot of people understood that, they would be able to critique the news better. But the point I'm trying to make here is not about what you believe in regards to Pakistan or what you believe in regards to the news, but just about how powerful narrative is, and who controls the narrative can speak for these many millions of people, right? So now I kind of want to move away from a very sad kind of example to more of an example we can all relate to. So Pakistani, right? So one thing we all have in common here is that we're all Pakistani. If someone here is not Pakistani, please let me know, and you're still very welcome in this space. But we're all Pakistani. Now, I'd like to hear from you guys. what to you defines, how did you learn about Pakistan's history and narrative, like who we are as a culture? Who taught you that, or where did you learn from? You can raise your hand or you could put it in the chat box. Arish said through school. That was one of the top answers I was expecting. Everyone's saying school. So I'm guessing you guys have a Pak history class, right? To various parents, and parents are also vastly influential in this process, and from parents. This is also really interesting. So a lot of what you know about Pakistan is from a certain narrative that was taught to you either in school or at home or by your friends, but it's not something you've actually experienced in person, right? Books as well. Right. What about you, Rohil? How did you learn about your Pakistani identity?
A bit from school, but a lot from YouTube, to be honest.
YouTube, what kind of channels?
So like my friend, he suggested these Pakistani army videos to me. He was actually a lot into the army. So he used to, talk to me about these army firefighter jet planes and stuff like that. So he actually recommended some videos because they were pretty, good. They were edited very nicely. The photography and the videography was very nice. So that's why he recommended them to me, to check out the cinematography on the video. But I actually ended up, feeling so patriotic about the videos, and they had Pakistani national anthem and all of that. So that is where I started, like Pakistani army. Who does Pakistan fight against? Why does it do that? And then somewhat in the history, and then so on and so forth.
So again, that is another thing for us to deeply reflect on, because I think is one thing we fail to understand is, as Pakistanis, we are very diverse. Hum log koi ek tarah ke log nahi hai, whether it's because of your culture or province or ethnicity, or there can be so many, or because you grew up abroad. There can be so many reasons. There's a lot of diversity within Pakistan. And a lot of the diversity also comes from the fact, especially diversity in thought, comes from the fact that what informs our Pakistani identity is different narratives. So some people might watch more big news channels. Some people might be more influenced by the Pak history classes at school. Some people studied it abroad or in an IB curriculum or something of that sort, where they try to incorporate different sources. So there are some people just watched YouTube videos or, shows that are actually created by diaspora Pakistanis or Pakistanis outside of Pakistan, or elite Pakistanis, or whatever it is. So what content we absorb really affects how we build that narrative as a nationality, right? IB curriculum, I highly recommend you look that up. International Baccalaureate, it's a European curriculum. It's pretty rigorous and very expensive, honestly. So you should look it up though. Okay, so we've done a little thinking about narrative, how it shapes the world. So I'm actually going to go back to that quote that I put over. But I'm trying to go back, but it won't let me go back. There we go. So I have to scroll up. But I really love this quote, and it's actually by a Native American proverb. Those who tell stories rule the world. So if you think about the people you talked about, Elon Musk, Robert Kiyosaki, Jordan Peterson, notice how many of these people have books. They have media channels to push their narrative out. So you are deeply influenced by the narrative that they have created about themselves in the world. Now, I'm not saying the narrative is right. I'm not saying the narrative is wrong. I actually haven't read all of their works. But just reflect on how powerful that process of sharing your story can be, right? So I'm actually going to give it, in the interest of time, because I think it's already 7:30, I'm going to skip over this a little activity that I have, and maybe we'll just give it 1 minute. Name one book or movie that you can never forget, right? Just put it in the chat box. I'll tell you which one. It was actually that war one, Pearl Harbor. I don't know why whenever I hear the word war, I just think of that movie, because it was that movie I watched while I was in that stage I was in my preteens, and my mom had seen it many times before, but we were just watching it again, and I was allowed to watch it in full this time. And just the war scenes were so graphic that whenever I hear war, I picture men in fighter jets and like lots of tragedy. Murder on the Orient Express, the book or the movie, Abdul Hadi? Inception. Why Inception, Junaid? What about it hit you really, really?
So when the movie starts off, you really don't understand what's happening, but it's so amazing, like how you can control someone else's mind, and we don't know it might be happening in this world, and it's just so yeah, that's why.
I agree. I loved Inception too. It definitely was mind-boggling. You have to watch it a few times to even figure out what's going on. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is, if storytelling can be so important, can you let someone else tell your story? So you have to take charge of your own narrative and your own story if you want to create the kind of impact you want to see in the world, if you want to affect the way people think about you, if you want to be seen as a certain kind of skilled or experienced individual, or if you want your ideas to be out there in the world, you really have to take charge of your own narrative. But as someone who has worked with many students on college application essays, many people on their CVs, on their LinkedIn, on their personal websites, all of that, the one thing, there's a huge mental block to doing that. And I think it's especially worse for some kinds of people who are not used to this, who haven't, maybe they're the first generation in the family to do this or to do X, Y, or Z. Whatever may be the case, there can be a lot of reasons why you have a mental block, but I see this huge mental block where people are always second guessing themselves. I mean, it took me a long time to just put together a portfolio of my work because I just didn't feel like it would, it's just like there was mental block to feeling it was special enough to create a slide or a page about it. Rohil?
Yeah, Abdul Hadi actually said on the chat that actually, yes. So is he saying that he would actually want someone else to tell his story? If yes, then could you please tell us why did you say that yes to that? Like, it's pretty intriguing. That's why. There's no right or wrong. I'm not saying anything to anyone. Just want to hear. No, I was agreeing. Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
okay.
It can be really hard to, Abdul Hadi, how old are you, if I may ask? 19. All right, cool. Okay, so yeah, it can be very hard to tell your story, and that's why people go to coaches and they go to the different kinds of sessions. They come to workshops like these. I have attended I was very lucky to have resources like that at a certain point in my life, where I would attend these workshops and then realize if so much has to go into writing a LinkedIn bio. So hopefully at the end of this workshop, you will feel a little bit more prepared, a little bit more confident to embrace your own stories. All right, so there's another nice quote here. The line between fact and fiction has always been really, really blurry, but the common thread running through all of it is good storytelling. Can anyone help me unpack this quote? It's a little tricky, but it's saying a lot. You can answer in Urdu also, by the way. I'm sorry, I just naturally fall into English in these workshops. लेकिन अगर आप उर्दू में explain करना चाहते हैं वो भी कर सकते हैं. Chat box में डालना चाहते हैं chat box में डाल सकते हैं. You can raise your hand, you can talk. What do you think? What is this quote telling us? Anyone? I'll give you guys a minute to process it. Ooh, Junaid has raised his hand. I'm sure Mariam has a good understanding of this. I'm waiting for her to respond in the chat box. Fact and Abdul Hadi says fact and fiction is related. How? How is it related? Asma, you first.
Yeah, so what I think is, what do they mean by the line between fact and fiction has always been really blurry. It's hard to differentiate between fact and fiction at times, but the common thread running through all of his good storytelling is that it doesn't matter. Like, at the same point, if it's like really good storytelling, then it doesn't, to most of the people, it's like it doesn't matter if it's fact or fiction, I think. That's what's my.
That's actually, you found a different way to say the same point. Junaid, did you want to add something to it?
I had a bit different perspective of that. So sometimes you really can't tell a story is a fact or a fiction, but a fact can be presented as fiction and fiction can be presented as a fact if there is good storytelling to it. So, if you are a good storyteller, you can tell a fact and make it sound like fiction, and you can tell something that's fictional and, it sounds like fact. So, yep, that's my take on this.
I think you guys were all getting very close to it. So what you said, Asma, everybody loves a good story. Okay, we all love a good. You can lie all you like. You can tell me you like it in Instagram Reels and TikTok, or you like a full-blown movie, but everybody loves a good story. And when you tell a good story, it can be, if it's really interesting and believable and relatable, it can feel real even if it's fiction. And how you can communicate a fact like this world event, this is how it happened, if you tell it in a convincing way, you provide the right facts or whatever it is, whether it's true or not fully, it can be very convincing. Actually, when I reached college, I had a very mind-opening experience studying history, because when you're in school and you're studying history, it's taught like a story. This is what happened. This is when it happened. This is who did it, right? And that you have to memorize it and you have to write it on a piece of paper. When I reached college, my mind was completely flipped, because the study of history was actually understanding who is writing that history, when are they writing it, how did they publish it, how did it get communicated and passed down? Because all kinds of history, any kind of historical narrative is a story. Okay, it's someone's perspective. You cannot factually 110% know if something happened or not. You can estimate using scientific methods, but you cannot 110% know or experience it. So all kinds of history is a narrative. And once you develop that understanding and awareness and consciousness that it's all a narrative, it's easier for you to process and also separate yourself from certain things and critically examine them. So sorry, I think I'm in a bit of a tangent, but I think it's a really important thing to know about storytelling. Okay. We should learn from history, and we should also learn from how history is created and transmitted as a subject.
There's also this quote, yeah, history repeats itself. That is why a lot of historians like actually focus on the fact that pay attention to your history, because it's going to repeat itself. Although some people would quite, oppose the fact, but we never know for sure.
There's a lot of evidence. Actually, there's a curve, I'm forgetting its name, but a lot of people assume progress is like this, like, we had technological revolution and now we are progressing like that. But there are ways to chart progress, say by wars or deaths or disease or whatever, that looks more like this. So it's ups and downs, ups and downs. So you might think that we're living through an exceptionally progressive era, but we might just be on a curve where things are going up and down, up and down. I like the economy. So these are all things. The way you tell the story, again, just affects how you think of it. Okay, so I really want to jump into the first activity. It's going to be super fun. You just have to introduce yourself. That's all you have to do. And you have to mention 3 things about yourself that you'd like us to know, right? So definitely, this is a creative writing and reflection workshop. So I hope you will be creative in the things that you tell us. But let's take 2 minutes. You can write it down. Writing it down should be the first step, even if you want to unmute yourself and speak. But I'd really like it if you could unmute and express it, because that's what we want to be doing throughout this workshop. So 3 things about yourself you'd like everyone to know. Gonna give you guys a minute. If you're ready, do raise your hand or give me a thumbs up. Hadi, I'm not satisfied with this introduction. It needs to be a bit more compelling. You're trying to make an impression here. So if you cannot unmute, just put it in a nice sentence and post it in the chat box. Okay, let's start with Junaid and then Asma.
Awesome. So hi guys, you might know me already, but okay, let's give you a bit different side of me. So I'd say I'm a big dreamer. So I have this quote that I really believe in. People say stars are the limit, but I say there are no limits. There are worlds beyond the stars that you can conquer, you can go for. So always dream big or don't dream. And I'm very passionate about the issues of youth empowerment and youth engagement, because I believe youth is something that defines any society's future and present as well. So if we want some country to just develop, I guess we have to focus on youth. And there's third thing that I believe in, that every person born on this planet has a purpose, and the purpose is linked to their passion. So whatever your passion is, it's somehow fulfilling your purpose of being born in this world. So yep, that's about me. Thank you, for sure.
Thank you. I'm looking for the reactions button so I can but I can't find it for some reason. Never mind. But oh shoot, we're skipping over to the activity. All right, Asma, your turn.
Yeah. So my name is Asma Waris, and you could say the first thing I would like to mention about myself is that I am a bookworm. I love reading new books and definitely love exploring new books, whether it's nonfiction or fiction, any genre. And second thing, I'm a very adventurous person, and one of my goals is to go for scuba diving, skydiving, and also I want to travel the world and see the world, like just like how we're talking about that people represent their own narratives. So I want to travel to like most of the part of the countries and see for myself about the culture and like just compare how the media represents them and how it actually is. And third thing, I love meeting new people. I like to share new ideas and I imagine a lot. My main thing is like go big or go home. So yeah, that's it.
That I think expresses your personality quite well. And I know you so well at this point. I'm like, great job, Asma. So see how that I can tell in an introduction that she's trying to make an impression. She's trying to be interesting. And I can understand a personality shining through. Zahid, do you have an introduction?
Yes. Before my introduction, I think what Junaid said and how he feels about youth engagement, I think that's very nice. And Asma, if you are passionate about traveling, please do that. I mean, please do so. And I loved how you said how you want to travel and experience things firsthand. This actually tells how your personality is, and knowing you a little bit through these workshops, I think it goes very well with your personality. Now, my introduction, obviously I did give a small introduction about myself in the beginning, so I'll just try to keep it different. Three things about me. I think I can mention three things about me that I don't mind others knowing. Is I am a bit crazy when it comes to buying shoes. I feel happiest when I am part of someone's story in a good way. And I actually get panicked when someone talks to me about social media.
That's interesting. Your social media is usually very interesting and full of wonderful travel pictures. So yeah.
Yes, and that is my limit of using social media. If someone talks to me about more than that, having some sort of interaction on social media or using social media for something else, people do use it for so many other reasons, but that is how I decide to use social media to tell my story, to represent my travel and my wanderlust around the world.
Brilliant. I'd love for a student to actually, I like these introductions pouring in on chat, and I see some very interesting people here. Ooh, Ramesa, let's hear from you.
Hello, my name is Ramesa, and this is my first time attending the PY F workshop. So yeah, we have to describe 3 things about ourselves. Can it be 1 for now?
Sure, whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay. So I am a very shy person because I'm an introvert, and it has always been really difficult for me to adjust to a new environment. I shifted to Dubai last year, and transitioning from 10th grade to high school, which is here, it was especially difficult for me because, I was just changing countries. So studying at this school was a completely new world for me because I never changed schools. So I was really nervous and all. My shyness and I didn't think it was necessary to make friends. So but when I came over here, I learned that stepping out of my comfort zone was the best thing I could do because it allowed me to discover an interest and skills for various stuffs and all. So I learned that diversity is so much more than the tint of your skin. My school taught me the opportunity and success only requires desire. So I
Question.
changed.
Hadi
Yeah.
asked, which country did you travel from here? And my second,
Oman. I spent 10 years in Oman, and I shifted to Dubai last year.
and which school are you going to now, if I may ask?
Pristine private school.
Oh, interesting. Nice. Okay, so love this introduction. And actually, you added a bit of storytelling into it too, which I really, really liked. So you shared something from your recent history that's important to where you are right now. I love that introduction. Thank you so much for coming and for sharing this with us, Ramesa. Okay, Raheel, you want to go for it?
Yeah, if no, there's nobody else, and if there's time.
We have a minute. Go for it.
Okay, so 3 things about me. So first of all, my birthday is coming up. There's nothing special about that. But what's special about is that when I was born, according to the doctors, there was actually a 2-second gap and between life and death for me. That's what the doctors tell me. And that's kind of a proud moment for me because I, skipped death by 2 seconds. Alhamdulillah. And secondly, the fact that I have flat feet is quite surprising, like as to how I got to know. I was actually jumping in school, and when I was going to one of the labs, and a teacher noticed, and she's like, "Why are you walking like this?" And I was like, "What's the problem?" And then she told me, she made a sketch out of my foot, and she told me that I have flat feet, which is how I got to know that I have flat feet and it's not normal. So number 2. And number 3, I couldn't get a third point until I listened to Asma's introduction. I also love traveling, but what is it that I love skydiving? And I would request everyone over here to please convince Junaid to come with me and actually go for the trip because I'm really waiting for him to actually hop on with me. So those were 3 things. I hope I covered them in a minute. Okay.
Good job. All right. But why do you want Junaid to come? You want him to fund the trip for you?
No, actually, we were planning this since like 2 years now. Okay. So if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it with him.
Go. Well, Javeria, your turn.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Julia, and okay, so I'm an extrovert person. I'm a very, very social person. I can make friends really quick, and I love meeting new people and getting to know them. And I'm a spendthrift. I think my comfort is buying new things. I love to spend money and spending my dad's money. And also I'm an impulsive buyer. I buy a lot of things that I don't need. And a very random fact about me is that I'm allergic to glue because I was really obsessed with slime back then, and I would play with it every day to the point where I got allergic to glue. So yeah, that's all about me.
I love that. I love how your introductions have stories in them. This is exactly what we're trying to get at. Reach, I saw your introduction, and Huda as well. Do you guys want to give it a shot, actually unmuting and saying it out loud? Reach, are you comfortable? because it's only about to get harder with the next exercise. Okay, let's dive into the next exercise, but I'm really hoping that we can, unmute and speak. Ramesa, you have a question?
No. Is my hand raised?
Yeah, your hand was raised.
I'm so sorry.
No problem. Okay, so now we're going to take this up a notch with an activity. I think you already saw a little glimpse of it. Raheel, do you want to introduce this activity?
Sure. Okay, so first scenario for this activity is, okay, everybody knows Imran Khan, right? The Prime Minister of our country. Okay, Bushra, I think we need to reevaluate your PYF credentials. Okay, so Imran Khan. Okay, so imagine you're going to meet Imran Khan. Okay, obviously, if you're going to meet him or if you're going to have a chance to meet Imran Khan, it's not because you got up one day, oh, I want to meet Imran Khan, you just walk into his office. Okay, there's something that you've done or achieved, which is why you've earned the chance to meet the Prime Minister of our country, Imran Khan. So the first scenario is, imagine that you've accomplished something, whether it be a hobby or if you're an artist or whether you like anything or you love anything and you're passionate about it. Imagine that you've earned an award in it and it's so great and so huge that Imran Khan actually wants to congratulate you and hand over the award to you himself. So first of all, think about what is it for? What are you most passionate about and how did you achieve it? Which is why he's going to award you the trophy and give an acceptance speech. So obviously you're not going to just go to him and take the award and then go back home. Okay, there's going to be a ceremony and everything. So prepare a speech as to how you're going to meet him, accept it, and everything that follows in that ceremony. And also give a story about how you achieve this, the blood and the sweat that went in reaching that stage where you're awarded, where you earned the award. Get a story on the entire thing.
Okay, so the first step is we have to choose something that we would be getting awarded for. And the second step is we need to come up with an acceptance speech and tell a story about how we worked for it. Okay, so let's take a few minutes. Let's take 3 or 4 minutes to work on this. One thing I'm going to introduce to help with this activity is this thing called a story map. Now, story mapping is something that you can use to write any kind of a story, but it might particularly help you on the spot right now to write one. Exposition is, just explaining the background information for what's happening in the story, who's involved, where are they, the context. Second thing is the conflict. Like, what was the struggle? Obviously, especially in this story, you need to have a struggle. If you say that, like, I was good at tennis because my dad is really rich and got me the best coach, your story is not going to come across as very interesting, right? So think about the conflict. Even if you had that privilege, like you woke up at 5 a.m. every day for 5 years, like, let's be creative, right? Then, okay, so we know what the background is, we know what the conflict is. Now let's get to the action, right? So that was a struggle. What happened after the struggle? What were some actions or steps that you took to fight it as you went up the slope? And then you reach the climax, which is the most interesting part of the story. So the day before this big tennis tournament, I tripped down a couple of stairs and I thought I'd almost broken my foot. So, okay, now we're like, this person worked so hard, but just the day before, suddenly our emotions are involved in the process. And then after the climax, what happened? But turns out that I did not hurt my ankle and it was totally fine. Even though it hurt a little bit, I decided to compete anyway. And then I won in some capacity, or I participated in the Olympics. And after that, I realized that anything is possible if you put hard work and effort into it and believe in yourself, or whatever it is you want to say. Think of your favorite Oscar speech. Think of your favorite Nishane Haider speech. Think of your favorite, any speech that you can think of. Oh, the picture is not visible to everyone. Let me see if I can zoom in. Unfortunately, I don't think I can. Oops.
I was actually, viewing it side by side, so the font was a bit small for me. If it's fine with everyone else, then it's fine. Just ask.
Let me see if I can. Is anyone else also struggling to see it?
If everyone else is fine, then it's fine. It's good. Fine with us. Okay.
Sounds good. If anyone is struggling, let me know, because I can put the picture in the chat box, because I don't think I can zoom very easily from here and then zoom out just as easily.
I think it's fine if I think
We
they're
can
able to. Yeah, they're able to see it. Yeah. So we
All
have
right.
3 people.
So let's take, what time is it right now? It's
7:58.
okay, 7:58. So let's take 5 minutes to work on this activity. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the chat box, let us know, and we'll try to answer them. But let's write the speech, write the story, right? So what I'm going to go back to the prompt slide, this one. Take your time, come up with a good response, and let's hear it in 4 minutes now. Okay, be right back. So also don't worry about writing a very long response. Ideally, your response should be able to be communicated in a minute or maximum 2 minutes. That's all you get to give your speech. Don't obsess too much about quality and perfection. The idea is to come up with something on the spot and be able to draw from personal experience. And the third thing is that, yes, we do have participation prizes to give away. So definitely, definitely try your best, but don't sweat it.
Okay, so I don't see any hand raises. If anyone's ready right now, could you raise your hands?
We'll just have to pick on someone.
Okay, so.
Or do you guys, if you need a few more minutes, you can also let us know in the chat.
Yeah, if someone's like halfway prepared or something and they need some more time to present, it's fine. You can be the first one.
And remember, this is a fun workshop.
Nobody's going to judge you.
No, not at all. And if anybody has an issue, you can even tell me and I could decide not to put the Zoom recording on YouTube. So let me know. But the most important thing is that you are here and you should make the most of the session. This is exactly why we're doing this. And we want to do it in person, but we could not yet. So we're doing it online. But this hesitation to answer a simple little prompt is exactly the reason why we're doing this. I think Huda has an answer in mind and I'd love to hear it.
I think she wrote her answer in chat, but I think she can't unmute. That's the problem here.
Huda, you cannot unmute? Is that the issue? Oh.
Fatima's, oh, okay. That is a big paragraph.
Okay. Fatima, you sure you cannot unmute and read it out? No.
No, sorry.
Okay, who can read it? Raheel, you want to read it? How should this be read?
Okay. It's your wish, whoever wants to read it. I really love if Raheel will read it. Okay. Okay, so I want to receive a trophy for becoming a doctor. Okay, medicine. Okay, Bismillah. I literally have no words to explain my feelings right now. I've struggled so much to become a doctor, and it was my grandfather's dream for which I've worked a lot. I want to thank my parents and my teachers for always supporting me, and I also want to thank myself for always working hard and trying to achieve my dreams. Okay, that's a short and very nice speech. One thing I really liked was that, you know, the fact that she said, I want to thank myself. A lot of people actually forget, you know, in the process of, you know, achieving something. And as she said, it was my grandfather's dream. In the process and, you know, the pathway of going somewhere, you actually forget that, you know, you're also one of the people in the story.
Absolutely.
Not that it's your story, but that you also, even if it's not your story, you're a very big part, you're a crucial part. You're the one, and you forget, people forget that. They just do it, oh, I'm doing it for that or this. Some people will benefit from it. But the fact to actually stop, sit, relax, think, and appreciate yourself is a very important and crucial part. And it's, you know, I've seen this after a very long time. It's something very new.
Good job.
Really good job on that.
Yeah, it's not about, it's not an egotistical thing to do. It's too much humility to ignore yourself. Anyone else? Javeria, Asma, Mariam. Javeria has raised her hand. I'm so excited. Okay, go for it. Oh, Huda wasn't in the room. Oh my dear. Okay, Javeria, you go ahead, please. Are you ready, Javeria? You can unmute and start.
Yeah, okay. So if I think that I'm ever going to get a trophy for it, would be motivational speaking. Like I said, I am an extrovert. I love talking to other people. So I don't have a speech prepared, but like I have something that like I figured out what I would say in the speech. So I would start off by saying that I got like really bad marks in grade 11. And that was supposed to be the most important year of my life. That is the year that decides, you know, what university I go to and everything. So I got like really bad marks in grade 11, let's just say that. And there was a teacher of mine that I was obviously very upset about it. So there was a teacher of mine that motivated me a lot. And he told me that it's okay, I can give the exams again and probably, you know, study better and get like good marks. And he motivated me and he believed in me. So I obviously gave the exams again and got a better result. And it was all because of him. He motivated me. He believed in me, and that was it. And that's when I decided that I want to do the same. I want to motivate a lot of students, people, because when something bad happens, we kind of like forget about the good. It's always like we we like select, we like choose every bad thing that happened to us, and we think about it. And like as some other person that gets really anxious, I have a lot of anxiety. So when something bad happens, we always think about the bad stuff. So it's nice that when there's something bad happening in your life, there's one person that motivates you, that believes in you. So I got inspired by that, and I started talking to a lot of people, a lot of students. I started with like my school friends that got got bad results, and I started like talking to them, and we started motivating each other. And because I love like public speaking, I love talking to other people, and because of that, I started my own, like, let's just say I started my own blog where I'd like write and motivate other people. And here I am. I started like with something small. I got inspired by my teacher, and then here I am, and I'm really grateful for it. That was it.
That is such a wonderful story. Is it a true story, Javeria?
I wouldn't say it's 100% true story, but I kind of got really bad marks in grade 9. And I worked really hard to get good grades in grade 10, but then because exams didn't take place because due to Corona, so I got the same result as grade 9 in grade 10, which is bad. So I worked really hard for the exams now in grade 11. And there was a teacher that motivated me a lot, and he believed in me. So I hope I get good grades in grade 11. Inshallah.
Inshallah, for sure. That is a great story regardless. And I'm so sorry that Corona affected your plans. I shouldn't be saying these things on a recorded workshop, but grades are really meaningful.
No, it's completely explained.
I just, my grades helped me a lot in my life, good grades. But that being said, those grades that you get, those numbers are not a measurement of what you have gained in the process of developing yourself. And what you have gained in the process of developing yourself is going to go way farther than any mark sheet. Trust me on that. Really wonderful story. And the reason I didn't tell that it was fiction or not was because of how passionately you expressed it.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you for sharing and getting the ball rolling. Okay, Huda, your turn.
Okay, so if I ever won a trophy or like anything, any achievement, I would love to win one for my contribution to literature or something like that. So my acceptance speech would go something along the lines of, as a child, I really wasn't interested in like books and reading and writing. And I used to run away from these tasks because it seemed so hectic and so complicated, right? My father used to force me into reading the local newspaper, okay? And the only thing I would look at in the newspaper was pictures. See, I'm more of a visual person, but all of these words used to complicate my mind, and it was like so hard to focus, okay? But one day I was just thinking, like, why do people read so much? Why do people, have these libraries of books? Why do they research so much? Why, like, people used to read like 100 books in a year, and I'm like, how do you do that? I don't even get through one book. I can't even read my course books properly, right? So I got into reading like that, and I worked around with my peers. I enhanced my reading skills, my writing skills in 4 languages, which is English, Urdu, Arabic, and German. And now I write and I freelance write, I translate works, and I earned through that, and that's probably it. Yeah. So one thing I would like to say is do not procrastinate failure. It's one of my favorite quotes. And I was so scared of failure because my grades weren't all that good because of, reading and writing. I didn't know how to do it at all. So please do not procrastinate failure. Practice makes perfect. Okay. That's it.
Wow, I love these speeches that are coming out. They're on the spot, which makes them even more special. I want to open the floor for other people to give their feedback to this.
I have a question for Huda. It's outside this. Okay, nothing. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, please
for it,
go
Jeanette.
ahead.
Huda, are you joining AUS?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I actually got accepted into Pakistani University on a full scholarship.
Congratulations. Which university? Can you repeat that?
Pakistani University.
Where is that?
It's in Ras Al Khaimah right now.
Congratulations. I can totally see that in you and in your work ethic and in your passion. Do you actually speak or know German to some extent?
Yeah, I do, but I don't know how to speak it as of right now. I just know how to type it.
Wow.
I know that's a bit confusing, but my teacher taught me like that.
That is amazing. That is really inspiring. And I loved your speech because I loved how you you tried to draw the audience's curiosity into your process to get them interested. So great job. Loving these responses. Huda, have you ever given a speech like that before?
Yeah, I have actually, in school, and then I have won awards and medals, even in online competitions.
It sounds like
I'm planning to launch a blog.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. I'm planning to launch a blog actually. So you'll see me.
For sure. Please do share that with us when it's ready. Maybe we can even promote it through the student group and through the PYF. So please do share it with us.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a few more activities, guys, so don't tune out just yet. Abdul Hadi has posted. Abdul Hadi, are you ready to unmute or no? Okay. So Abdul Hadi, who wants to read his story? Jeanette, do you want to read it?
Aye, Captain. I'll do it right now. All right. As an actor and singer, I would win an award for my outstanding performance. I wanted to my friends who motivated to perform on the local stage, and I started getting fame and excellence in my job.
Great.
Awesome.
That's really good, Abdul Hadi. I definitely love to see more of a story of struggle in there somewhere, of how you weren't able to, you had to wait tables for a couple of years, stand in long lines. But I love that attempt, and it does sound like a good story. Arish, love to see your hand. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, so I would receive a trophy for being the best programmer in the world. The reason I'm here is because of my family, friends, and teachers for their unending support. I didn't do well in class, and I was very depressed because no one would give me a job, and that's when I started reaching out to my family. And just give me a minute. Okay, so that's when I started reaching out to my family and friends, and they helped me come back. After a lot of hard work and debugging on the system, I eventually became successful in my career. That's it.
Great. I think that's a good story, and that's something that I would believe in a professional situation as being a believable story. But you said best programmer, right?
Yeah.
So you want to go into computer programming?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. I think we have a couple of different people in the computer science.
Being the best programmer in the world.
Oh my God, thank you.
Wow. All right. Yes, there's lots of competition here for programmer, but
yeah.
also we need programmers. We need people who can develop solutions. All right. Okay. So I think this has been really, really great. I really love how you guys just on the spot came up with a story, came up with a speech, and delivered it as well. So great job. Really appreciate it. I do want to now take some time, and I hope the story map helps you as well. I can share the presentation with you after, so maybe you can use this in the future as well if you ever end up writing. All right, so we did have, okay, and I did have this other structure as well when you're telling a story to have an opening and a hook. So quite a few of you had a hook, like, I started studying and I got bad grades. So if you start your story off with that, it's like, okay, there's a conflict. So this is what the story is going to be about. You introduce the context, the school, your change in schools, the teacher who helped you, the questions that you asked, Arish, your struggle with finding a job. So you express your conflict in the context, and then you explained how you resolve the conflict and your takeaways. Many of you had takeaways in the end that don't procrastinate on failure. Love that one, by the way. And also to just keep working and believe in yourself. So great responses. The structure can help you form stories on the spot. So you know that if you have to tell a story about something, these are the things that I need to cover to communicate it effectively. So just to keep in mind, you don't use these structures to make up a story. I'm not saying that you take the structure and always exaggerate a story. What I'm saying is sometimes when we are on the spot and we have to communicate a story to someone, we can be confused about how to do it effectively. Keeping these 5 elements in mind will help you make sure that you've hit the right spot, especially when you're in a group gathering, you're in a classroom, or you're leading a classroom, you're leading a meeting or presentation. All right, so this is actually something I want to discuss with you guys. Given how we've already told a few stories, told a few speeches, what are the qualities of a good story? Let's first make a list of those. Can someone give me qualities of a good story? You can raise your hand or you can put it in the chat box as well. If someone puts it in the chat box, Rohil, will you read it out for me?
Sure.
Okay, characters. What about the characters, Abdul Hadi? Yes, Rohil?
No, I actually wanted to say that one of the points of a good story. So,
okay, go for it.
A good hook, good first hook. Yeah.
Hook sounds good. Suspense. I'm hearing all of this. Characters, interesting. But I think what Abdul Hadi means is interesting characters.
Character development. Javeria said character development. So we can just put it in interesting characters and their development.
And their development. Sounds good.
Background setting.
Background. So context, background. Okay.
Yeah, so Fatima Suhaib said, create believable, memorable characters, make the important parts of your story effective, deepen your plot with subplots, make every line of dialogue count.
Clearly someone writes a lot. Okay, relatable, that's good.
Abdul Hadi said plot again. Okay.
Creative, memorable. Okay, this is great. So we have a nice laundry list of, so we all know what are the elements of a good story. Now, how do you actually bring that out in the stories that you tell? So let's just take the first point. Interesting characters, immersive. Okay, good story is also immersive. I'm gonna add that to the list. All right, interesting characters and their development. How can you achieve that? Can you give me an example of what you can do to implement or create interesting characters? What does that mean? What I mean by that is, so suppose you're trying to develop interesting characters that are creative, memorable, and you're trying to develop them. What are some things you can think about or introduce in a character to make them interesting?
So see, we've actually jotted down the points that actually a good story should contain, but what about those points should be there to make the story good?
Yeah.
Interesting characters are there in almost every story. Okay, you don't just have a stick man, but what about those interesting characters can we do? Now we're taking it one step further. So if anyone has anything to add to that, oh, my hand is raised.
So on the one side, this side we have, you can say the what, right? And this side, let's think about it of the how.
Yeah. Okay, so Abdul Hadi is asking, what does immersive mean? It actually means,
Actually, Huda, can you explain that?
Khuda, are you there?
Okay.
Yeah, so immersive means like how you hook in the reader and how you intrigue the reader's interest into the story.
Intrigue, hook the reader.
So, okay, Fatma Suhaib said, write good dialogue. We have good dialogue.
We don't. I think that is a how for developing characters. I think that's a really good how, actually. Good dialogue.
Good dialogue, creating suspense and drama. So we have suspense on the left side.
Yeah.
Now we have it on the right side. Create suspense and drama.
Through dialogue and all of that. All right.
Okay.
Ooh.
Asma has come up with the literature lesson. Use different literary devices.
What are literary devices? Can anyone tell us that?
Metaphor, okay, there's one. Simile, there's two.
Onomatopoeia, alliteration, and like similes, imagery, and a long list. But yeah, action verbs.
Fell onomatopoeia, but I tried.
Yeah, I think you should use autocorrect for that.
Okay, good stuff. Yes, literary devices definitely help. Sometimes
Personification. Fatima's website, personification. That's a very important one. Yeah.
Personification. Yeah. Absolutely. So like that shadow on the ground looked like someone was holding a dagger, right? So like you've given something to that's very interesting. I often find that people, irony, you guys are good at this. So I've often noticed that people think about literary devices as something very sophisticated and something they only have to bring out when they are writing a story. But even when you're telling a story, she laughed like a hyena, or something like that. We say such stuff in our casual conversation already, can make a story so much more interesting and funny and engaging, right? Just giving examples to compare things to.
Especially in Urdu. When we're speaking in Urdu, we use a lot of literary devices. We don't even realize that we're using those devices until we think about it. But yeah, we use them a lot.
Example hi de de hame.
I can't think of anything right now.
I'm putting my co on the spot. It's fine. It's all good.
Okay, Asma has her hand raised. Maybe she has a good example of literary devices in Urdu.
Yeah. Can we also add hyperbole for exaggeration and also ellipsis for creating suspense and tension?
Okay.
Okay. Aisha has been paying attention in English class a lot, which I like. Good job. But this is also ellipsis is something you would use more of in a written piece of work, which we're not saying we're not writing. We can, think that as well. Hyperbole is something we use all the time, especially in storytelling. So that's a really good one. Anything else?
The use of idioms in caps lock.
Ooh, use of idioms. That's a good one, actually. Use of idioms. Again, metaphors and similes, idioms, yeah, something. Poetry as well. Poetry in a story. I'm not too sure about that, Fatma, but maybe you can. Maybe being poetic sounds like
poetic. Yeah, being poetic. Maybe you can use quotes to more emphasize on the story you're telling.
So I would like to actually focus on this for a minute, making the important parts of your story effective. What can we do to achieve this?
Asma, do you have something to say, or did you forget to lower your hand? Okay.
Background story. Okay, so having a good. But how do you develop the background of a story? Can someone give me some examples? So suppose I'm telling a story about how I failed in school. What can I give in the background to make my story interesting? You can literally put examples in the chat box or raise your hand.
Sounds. Okay.
Sounds. Make it a little suspenseful. But what I would want to know is, why was she not doing good in school? Like, was she ill? So did something happen? Asma?
Yeah, so for the background, we can represent what's around us, like use colors that represent sadness. That would be a big help, and like represent how we're feeling, and like the sky is dark, like gray clouds surrounding the sky, like something like that.
Yes. So just describing things a bit more gives it a bit more of a vivid. So if you're talking about a trip to some place, you can tell about the environment, about the people, about the food or something like that, or atmosphere. Good stuff. Okay. So since we're already at 8:30, I think we should actually skip ahead. I'm going to skip this activity. Okay. And actually come down to the tips thing a bit more. So a few more tips. So we've already talked about some tips coming from you and how to make stories interesting, and they were all quite valid. But here are a couple of tips that we've researched. So when you're telling a story, especially a personal story, the most important thing you need to do is be very clear on the message. So oftentimes what happens is we'll start telling a story and then we'll go off in tangents, right? So when you are telling a story, especially on the spot, be very clear in your mind about what the message is. Second thing, if there's conflict, so oftentimes when we're telling a personal story, we can struggle to talk about struggle, right? We can struggle to talk about the negative things. It's okay. Use the struggle to build up to the good parts, use that to build the suspense that you're looking for, the drama that you're looking for, or the hook that you're looking for. Have a clear structure, at least a beginning, a middle, and an end, if nothing else. If your story is all over the place, no one will be able to follow. And finally, this is the hard part, and it has to do with the first one, narrow the scope. So if you're talking about how you were trying to become a better writer, don't bring in stuff about how you were learning to drive a car at the same time, because again, you're confusing the reader. A good story is one that has one simple, clear message, right? So for example, one of the stories that we mentioned, what are some of the movies that people mentioned in the beginning?
Inception.
Well, that is not a story that has a narrow scope, but it does have a very simple premise.
Yeah, so
it has a very simple premise that like there are people who keep entering the certain world. We don't get too much information about the device or the villains or anything like that. We're told what the conflict is and how these characters are experiencing it. So again,
Abdul Hadi said Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah, even that one has a very specific context and but that's a beautiful novel, but the same time. All right, so these are some tips. Rohil, you have some tips as well?
On good storytelling, yeah. Okay, I would actually like to contradict one of your points. Okay, that is why I said Inception. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes a good story is when you have a lot of small stories in it. Okay, when you divide your big story into small parts, it keeps the reader engaged, because if you're just dragging one long story, someone like me, we're gonna get bored and might not end up finishing the novel or reading the story or even listening to the person. If you have small story, like I myself, when I speak to people, I tend to jump a lot in between stories. And when my dad asked me, what's this thing you came here to talk to me about, I actually don't remember what I went to talk to him about. So
but you think that's an example of good storytelling?
So yeah, sometimes some people like me like to talk in that way, and some people like to listen in that way. They want their stories to be divided into chunks, and be all over the place. So once at the end of the conversation or the end of their story, okay, they feel as if they've been through so much. They've had tons of experiences in 5 minutes of a story. So that's one thing I would like to contradict. Sometimes it's better if there's chunks of small stories in one grand story.
If you're a masterful storyteller, then definitely go for that approach. Absolutely. Asma, you have your hand raised?
Yes, I would like to add few more tips. Okay, so first you can use anecdotes to connect with the audience, because that's what you want. Like you're saying a story, so you want to connect with your audience as well. And then you can use rhetorical questions so that it makes your audience question and even deep dive into it and think more about it. And then third is direct address. You need to use specific words, directly addressing the audience, so even they feel a part of your story. Yeah,
absolutely, for sure. I think these are really good tips. Rhetorical questions are also really, really good devices that you can use. Great. So I think we have a lot of tips. Yeah, Rohil, you want to add something?
Yeah, no, I actually, Abdul Hadi, he said, use what? I think he was referring to anecdotes. Yeah. If he's referring to anecdotes, Asma, can you explain, how exactly? Yeah, Abdul Hadi, yes, okay, just explain it.
Oh yeah, it's about your like sharing a personal information about yourself, or it could be about your childhood. Like I used to read these and these books when I was 5 years old. Even this can be an anecdote. So it's basically like sharing personal information with the audience, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. Personal storytelling is all about anecdotes, right? It's all about sharing things that happen to you and tying them in a thread to give a message of some kind. So, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna suggest that we dive straight into. So here's another tool that I wanted to suggest that you guys consider is when you are telling a story, really think about the pace of the story. At some points, the story is gonna be a bit slow. At some point, it's gonna pick up and be fast, and that, when you're telling a story in 1 minute, that's expressed through your tone, that's expressed through your body language, that's expressed through how your voice goes up and down. You can see I even do that a lot. So pacing diagram, especially if you're writing it down first, say you're putting together, well, maybe putting together an application essay or of some kind, and you're trying to figure out how to manage your tone throughout it. Maybe you can use something like that. Maybe you're writing a book, maybe writing a novel, whatever it is. A pacing diagram can be quite useful to help you figure out where to put in where to build up the suspense and the action a little bit. Okay, so that was the thing. I want to jump straight to the closing activity. 3 minutes for this. You're applying for your dream job. You have to tell us what dream job that is, okay? Mention 2 reasons you're a good candidate, and give, at least for one of them, give evidence through a story of you demonstrating or how you learned it or how you have expressed it in the past, all right? So 3 minutes, you're applying for your dream job, 2 reasons why you're a good candidate, and provide evidence for the story. Again, we're going to give you 2 minutes to just prep for it, and we're right here. I'm looking forward to hearing some very creative responses to this one.
I want to know what people's dream jobs are. Are they still like, like a doctor, engineer, or like, do we have something new in store so that even I can get some inspirations for future jobs?
If you're ready, please let us know on the chat. And keep it very simple. This is a closing activity, nothing fancy. Then we'll just do the feedback form and participation prize and end it there.
Bushra, did you just say participation prize?
I did. I mean, we mentioned it everywhere. People should know.
Had you told me earlier, I would have participated much more.
So on purpose, we didn't tell you, Zahid, so you could focus on moderating.
People with their names in brackets are excluded from that anyway. So
Okay, so I'll make sure I put something
Like
in
next time you're
bracket
not going
in
to
front of
moderate.
Junaid's
You're
name.
just
I
going
will
to.
Mean that volunteers are included in the participation prize?
Oh, Asma wants all the prizes.
I'm going to rename my first name to workshop co-lead.
I mean, all thanks to Zahid for the first prize, but yeah, if it's more, then I'm definitely contributing more.
It was Zahid's workshop. I remember. Yeah. And that was it's so interesting because there were like so many, there were 40 students and we did a randomizer and it still ended up on Asma. So that was great. That was really fun. We're going to do, let me see, I think we can do 2 participation prizes today.
Guys, is anyone ready with their future jobs? I need recommendations.
I think next gift Asma want would be a trip to somewhere where she can see northern lights.
Oh, my
I
friend
think
just
for
went.
that, we'll have to take the entire PYF budget and still chanda jama karna padega. And then
I was gonna say astronaut, but yeah,
Astronaut is dream.
give that to Junaid. He loves stars. Junaid has been observing. Oh, okay. Abdul Hadi's responded.
Yes, Abdul Hadi responded.
I'll read it this time. Zahid, can you read it for us, please? Participate.
Okay. I applied for this position as an actor because it is my lifelong dream and because I'm very good at it and everyone wants me to be one. So that's why.
That's an interesting, there's no story there, Abdul Hadi. I would want to hear a story about how you performed somewhere and you got, what did you perform and what kind of feedback did you get? That would have been interesting. Anyone else? I'm gonna go for it. Oh,
sorry,
yeah, Abdul Hadi, come on, you can add a bit more to it and repost. We were here for a few more minutes. Anyone else is ready? Aisha Ali is awfully quiet today. I'm a little concerned. Yes, Rahil, you're ready.
Okay, if you want to go, because if you want to go first, you can go. Then I'll go.
Oh,
can't we? See,
wow.
we have participants. We have fans for Bushra. So.
Yeah, I can go. I can go. All right. So
yes,
my dream job thinking would actually be to say, to be Minister of Education in Pakistan. And 2 reasons I would be a good candidate is because I have worked with students in different countries for quite a long time, and I'm deeply passionate about education. And I also have experience in different industries. So I think I can think about ways education matches to the job market as well. And what would make me good for this job is I'm head of education in this organization called the PYF. And part of what I do is help organize programs and workshops for students. And a lot of this work is based on understanding gaps that we see students have experienced, whether through our research or past experience or students themselves have expressed it. And doing that work, I recognize that our education system needs a major overhaul because it's setting up people for failure. And they deserve much better than that. So yeah, that would be my speech. Asma's given me the job. I hope Asma's the one hiring me when it's time. Maybe she's prime minister, you never know. Junaid, you should also go for it. You have fans as well, man.
No, I think Junaid left.
Yeah, Junaid is not here, but we have a response from
Fatma Suhaib.
Fatma Suhaib and Asma Waris said you got the job. Okay, congrats, Bushra.
Thank you.
Shall I? Okay, I'll read the response from Fatma.
Fatma, yeah.
Before Rohil goes with his dream job. My dream job is to become a doctor. The reasons: the skills and qualifications I possess are a great match for the requirements for this position. And also my communication and leadership skills make me a great candidate for the job. Evidence: I am really qualified and my CV is enough to let me be the candidate.
I can see that Fatma really wants it. I like how she pointed to communication and leadership as requirements for becoming a doctor. that to me demonstrates that she really has an understanding of what goes in the job. Right. So actually we are running out of time and I do not want to keep you guys here for too long. So what I'm going to do is let's share the feedback form, Zahid, in the chat box. Please guys, fill out the feedback form. So one, we know what you like, what you didn't like, but also we have your name and email to get you your certificate and the participation prize. I think what we should do is, I have 2 people in mind actually already that I would like to consider for this. Do you have someone? Can you also, Rohail, Zahid, if you have a recommendation, please send it to me on WhatsApp, please, because there are people sending responses on chat.
Recommendation for what?
The participation prize.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. On WhatsApp.
Okay. Yeah.
1 or 2 people. I already have 2 people in mind, but please go ahead. Software development engineer, probably quick thinking and problem solving, but naturally gifted with. Once I was a company with a startup company, was raining heavily that day. I heard screams while I was waiting at the reception, and the whole building power went out. My first reflex was to get up and help my dad, put out the already increasing fire from the short circuit. We forgot about the main generator. Wow, Huda, is this a true story?
True.
Very recent. Well, Huda, I clearly can see that you're an extremely capable and curious and accomplished person. And I hope you do get that dream job that you want. You certainly deserve it. So you'd want to work at a startup, Huda? I hope I can see a beautiful career ahead for you. So congratulations. And
if it's something I'm passionate about, then obviously, why would I mind?
Yes, I get that. All right. Sorry, did not post the feedback form. Instead, I posted. I'm trying to copy and post, but it's not been doing that for me.
I did post the link for the feedback form.
Yes, I'd love to see enough responses so I know everyone's covered. Okay. So participation prize. I'm going to check my chat really quickly. Abdul Hadi wants to do spinning wheel. I would say that would be unfair to the people who have contributed more to this discussion. So, what I would go with is actually, I would go with Javeria and Arij as today's winners because they have both attended, I think, all 3 workshops. And I've seen them literally, be self-starters, start the conversation, participate a lot. So congratulations, guys. You both get 80.75 Amazon gift vouchers emailed to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where is that react emoji?
There's a gift from your Imran Khan as well.
Yes. So I think it's time to conclude. Before we conclude, please make sure you filled out the participation form. Now I can also read. Okay, and would love to do a what do you call that? Would love to do a screenshot of us celebrating this workshop together. So if you can switch on your camera for a few minutes, please do that. If you cannot, let's do a different emoji today. Let's do the celebration emoji. And a Kit Kat is very welcome.
Vishnu, can you check your chat as well, please?
I am doing that. Having a discussion about this. Okay, let's quickly take the picture first.
You put your celebrations on
1, 2, 3. Ta! And I'm gonna take a screenshot. Okay, great job, guys. Okay, great. Okay, so actually we're gonna give a 3rd participation prize as well on special request from our moderators and our workshop leads to Abdul Hadi. Abdul Hadi, you're still here. So you get a participation prize as well. Please make sure you guys fill the feedback form. So I have your details, email, because we're going to email it to you. Thank you all for coming. You're very brave people, especially I don't know why Pakistani students do not see the value of these workshops, but you do. And our next step is going to be trying to come to your schools and do these workshops in person. So inshallah, let's see. Thank you all. Many of you have been part of these workshops from the Winter Academy all the way up till now. Really appreciate your participation. We hope you feel like your time is well utilized with us, and we hope you keep coming back. All right. So stay in touch. Don't reach out anytime you want to talk about anything. You want to propose a program idea. You need help with something you're working on. We are here to support you as your community mentors and volunteers. All right. Okay. Take care. Have a wonderful night, guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.